Welcome to the first workplace series for 2025. And today we are talking about influence, but influence in the context of your team. So the respected former CEO of Intel, Andy Grove, once said, and I quote, "Just as you wouldn't permit a fellow employee to steal a piece of office equipment, you shouldn't let anyone walk away with the time of their fellow managers." End of quote. Now, I love this quote. But if you think about it, across organizations, across the globe, you see this happen all the time. People waste each other's time. And if you're a leader, it's worse if your team members can't influence those around them. Influence is one of those critical skills that people need in an organizational system if they want to get heard, if they want to be able to negotiate outcomes, and make progress. So think about it. If you've got team members who can't communicate effectively, build strong relationships, be able to compromise and negotiate effectively, the more you're required to step in, intervene, and help them remove roadblocks, all of which consumes often a huge amount of time and an environment where productivity is already often challenging. Many years ago, the McKinsey Global Institute report put out a series of findings about the amount of time employees spend each week writing emails, searching for information, and communicating. At that time, and this was back in 2012, they found that the average office worker spent 61% of their working week doing that. Now, if you were to run that study again, it's likely that you'd get very similar results. And in recent times, in the Australian context, another study found that professionals lose approximately 31 hours a month participating in unproductive meetings. At the same time, your team, you're expected to deliver outcomes faster and often in a more complex working environment and with less resources. The end result is a working environment that can feel constantly changing, more complex, and more bureaucratic. There's endless meetings, countless stakeholders to consult with, shifting goalposts, and that can often leave you feeling like you're working really hard and your team is working hard, but you're not seeing the progress that you would expect to see. The challenge with all of this is that does nothing to help motivation in the workplace. A Harvard study found that a lack of progress is one of the biggest factors that demotivates employees in the workplace. People want to feel like they're making progress and making progress on work that matters. They also want to feel that you, their leader, has their back. So if you're the leader and you're powerless to influence outcomes, that also impacts the team's morale. In today's working environment where it's more hybrid, there's more interconnections, yes, there's still a hierarchy in organizations, but you can't rely on traditional hierarchies to get things done in the same way. That's because the organizational dynamics are different. So it's important when you think about influence that you understand who influences who. What are the connections and relationships? How are decisions made? What are the formal channels for decision making, but what are the informal channels that exist beyond hierarchies and those decision making criteria? This is about understanding the influencing factors that operate in your organizational system. Because when you know those factors, you're better able to navigate to find that back door. Leverage those informal networks through which decisions are made. That means also, as an effective leader, you know you can't do it alone. You're going to need each member of your team performing optimally so that you can collectively make progress, influence outcomes, and affect change in your organization. You can't do any of that. Or, well, you can do a bit, but it's so much harder if your team can't influence. So what I want you to really think about is, where would you place your team members on that scale of influence? Do they know how to build awesome stakeholder relationships? Can they create coalitions of support? Can they communicate in an authentic and concise and clear manner? Can they negotiate important decisions? There are many other elements that factor into this, but they're the 4 key ones to start with. Because what you can do is once you understand where your team is at, you can then work out where you need them to be and then consider ways to close those gaps. The good thing with influence, it's a skill. And so like all skills, it's a skill that can be learned. If you want to find out more, always up for a chat, because influence really will make the difference between how effective you are and how effective your team is. Take care. I'll see you next week.